Are you seeing my screen flicker at any time? From time to time, maybe it's not going to do it now.
Hey everyone, I'm Maximus from Sofa Gamers and welcome to IViews, a YouTube series where we interview gamers and YouTubers. Today is episode number 5 and our guest comes from Barcelona, Spain, although he is originally from New Zealand. Craig Peterson is a comic book artist, writer, illustrator, and you can discover his amazing work at mechazoic.com. He is currently working on a series called Echoes from the Drift, set in a post-apocalyptic era. In Ruins is the prequel of the series and it's available for free download on his website. Go take a look, you're gonna love it. To learn more about Craig's work and influences, as well as his video game experiences, please welcome Mr. Craig Peterson. Thank you, Craig. Thank you for being here today and accepting our invitation for this episode of IViews. How's it going?
Yeah, I'm great. Thank you. Yeah, thanks for the invitation. It's an honor.
Thanks. Glad you could do it. So I usually start with this one for everyone watching to know more about your background in video games. So here it goes. Do you remember the first video game you played? Like, when did it all start for you?
Yeah. Actually, it was my dad who got me into video games when I was very young. Would have been the very early, might even be late 70s. He was really interested in the home consoles that were coming out. My first console, I was looking for it the other day and found that it's based on the PC50X, which is this really old console that I've never even heard of. It's based on that because I've looked at photos of these and it doesn't remind me of the console that I used to play. But this is from ancient history now. Wow. We had a black and white TV at that time, so you could play. We were playing the color games, the very simple color games on a black and white TV. So I have more vivid memories of the black and white than the color. But the game that I remember the most from that console was a game called Stunt Cycle.
Stunt Cycle.
Yeah. So yeah,
Seems a cool name.
It's a very, very basic game. You have your screen. Once we got to color TV, I saw that it was green, a big green screen with this like three lines. I think that you drive a motorcycle. You have to control the speed of the motorcycle, right? So you're trying to accelerate and you go across the top line and then you go across the middle line, and then at the bottom line there's a ramp with some barrels or buses or something and a ramp on the other side. So you're trying to leap the ramp and not crash and die. So you have to control it's really just about controlling the speed and then having enough speed to get over and not wreck your bike. So that's probably the one I have the most memories of. And then there was some very basic space battle ones where you could play 2-player and you're just shooting lines straight down or straight up if you're from the bottom.
Like Space Invaders.
Yeah, but just with 2 players. So you just 2 ships like that and you launch these like the slowest missile beam in history.
I know. Yeah, I know.
And then you try and avoid and then Pong, the classic.
Pong. That was awesome with like the bubbles and then.
Oh no!
That one.
No, just the one with the two bats. It's like
yes, and then the ball goes like.
Ball is bouncing. Yeah. So there was I don't know. There was a whole lot of games that came with that console. I think it was cartridge based. I think that was my first memory of video games and consoles and things. And the next system we went to after that was the Atari 2600.
Yeah.
I have 2 older brothers, and we used to play the Atari like all the time. And we had a lot of games of that, and it was like every birthday or Christmas we'd try and get new games, and so it was really cool. And then we went to the Sega Mega Drive after that. We would I don't know how it worked because my dad would play with us as well.
So cool.
Yeah, he's in his 70s now. He's still playing, so he's got my old PlayStation 3, and he's playing that, which is
I have to
awesome.
interview your father.
It could be on a future episode. Yeah, it's great. It's really cool. So we used to like go save up our pocket money, and he would go halves and buy us games. And now I've sort of, now it's many years later on, I'm kind of returning the favor, so I buy him games and give him my old consoles and things like that.
That's so amazing. That's so cool. Well, I hope now I'm like on the other side. Like I am now trying to have that role. I'm the dad gamer. See if my daughter, she likes already a lot, so I think she will grow up playing video games.
Loving games, I'm sure.
Oh, amazing story. And from that vintage era, what video game would you like to play now in a remastered version?
A remaster. I got two that I'd really like. So I'm not going. I don't know about like, because that's really vintage, all that old stuff. So
fine, whatever. I mean,
I'm going a little bit more forward into the Sega Mega Drive era, which is still
it's
really
vintage already.
So I think I mentioned in a tweet that I really wanted to see the Road Rash. Road Rash.
I remember that tweet.
Get remastered, because this. You know, I see in the PlayStation Store there's all these amazing motorcycle simulation games, and the graphics are just looking incredible, right? And I see them because I played Road Rash. I'm like, can I just get a pipe or a chain and just race the other guys off their bikes and keep having the fights? So I mean, there's been other companies, I think more some smaller companies that have tried doing games like Road Rash, but I haven't seen anything that looks as good, or what I think should be a Road Rash in this games, generation. You know.
That would be awesome. I have good memories from Road Rash.
Yeah. So there's that, and the other one would be a game from the Sega Saturn called Dark Savior. I don't know if you remember Landstalker from the Mega Drive. No? Okay. So it was by the same company. They're called Climax Entertainment, and Dark Savior just came out, and I loved it. It was about bounty hunters who have captured this big monster that's going around killing everybody. And they've caught him, and you're taking him on a freighter to a place called Jailer's Island. And during the voyage, he escapes and starts killing all the crew. So you're trying to get him to Jailer's Island, where the main adventure starts. And I really loved all the character designs, but most importantly with this game, there was a system of what they called parallels. Okay, so they have kind of parallel timelines happening, and so you need to go through the game 5 times, and you uncover 5 different versions of the story, and they all start to interconnect at some point as well.
That's interesting.
It was really interesting. This was back in 1996. It was a very kind of cool anime style. It was a mix between puzzle platform game and a fighting game a little bit as well. And the combat, you'd kind of have this like a early Street Fighter style. Yeah, it just captured me, and I've always wanted to know more about it. You know, the 5 different stories weren't enough, and I wanted to just have it keep going. I would have loved it to turn into a franchise of things with more of these parallels. Yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah, that seems to be if they do a remaster, to work pretty awesome right now in this generation of consoles, for sure. With how things are.
Yeah.
It's cool to ask this stuff because it always varies so much from person to person. And I always end up learning more about video games and go and check them out. And I want to try this, even if it's very, very old. Which somehow leads me to the next question, which is, in all your gaming history, can you make an all-time favorite top 5? Of
Um,
course, can be more, no problem.
yeah,
As I know, 5 it's not enough sometimes.
yeah. I almost had to. I have more.
Yeah, I
I
think
have more.
everyone.
I even couldn't pick. I had to kind of say it's this series. I couldn't really
Yeah, exactly.
pick
Makes
one
sense.
of the whole series. So I've kind of got it a little bit chronologically. So I have probably from the Mega Drive era. It'd be Shining Force 2. It was a Japanese role-playing game, and it was like a strategic turn-based game, but again, kind of very anime-style fights and story. It was a fantasy mixed with high technology as well. So it was kind of like there was an ancient race at some point who were very highly advanced, and then various disasters have happened, and the world's gone more fantasy at first. But then, so you're going through, you think, it's just a sword and sorcery type thing. There's magic, there's swords, and then suddenly this robot comes out and starts shooting you, and you're like, what?
Nope, not just magic and swords.
Yeah, but it was great because I played a lot of the pen and paper role-playing games at the time, so I was used to playing Middle-earth and Dungeons and Dragons and the straight kind of fantasy games. So to have the sci-fi element, because I was a big Star Wars fan, Battlestar Galactica fan of the original stuff, so to have both of them in one game is like, it's amazing. So I love Shining. There's a whole series of Shining Force games, so it went through to the Sega Saturn as well, and that series, Dark Savior, obviously, which I've already talked about, Fallout series.
Yes.
I played nearly all of them, I think.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I played the first one in 1997 was on PC. It's the isometric view, and you run around and all the dialogue choices, and they were really cool, and it was set a nice style. I really liked how it was this blend of Mad Max in the 50s, the post-apocalypse, and as well as this weird kind of 50s era things with the Vault Boy, and it was a really cool series. And I played the second one, and I didn't play Fallout Tactics very much. And then Fallout 3 was really cool, and then New Vegas, and recently sort of done Fallout 4. So
it must be amazing for you to like a franchise like that spanned now for many years, and it's still like very alive, if I can use the word. And you enjoy all that.
Yeah, from where it came from.
And you see the evolution and all the changes.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, some people in the forums wanted it to stay like the original, but I got really immersed in Fallout 3 when it came out. You make your character and you really feel like you're in this blasted landscape, and you got the weird green dawn, the sunrises and things, and you're just going, wow, that's just it was really, really cool. It was really cool.
So that's 2, I guess.
So what else have we got? The Final Fantasy series.
That's
gigantic,
yeah.
Well, I started at 7. I haven't done. I only sort of know a little bit about the others. I haven't played them before that. So I did 7 onwards, and I those are really cool. The visuals of those, it was mostly in the cutscenes, that they used to have, that you're like, wow, look what they can do. This is amazing, And it was, again, the Japanese role-playing games, the JRPGs, they tell the stories in such a cool and interesting way. For me, it really kind of sparked my imagination. So I would say out of the ones I've played, I probably liked 8 a lot.
What was the platform back then?
That would have been PlayStation 1.
Okay. Because I remember the first Final Fantasy I played, I forgot which one it was. I just know it was for PS1. It was 4 disc version of the game.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think 7 and I think 8 was that as well. It's kind of daunting when you see it. You're like, this is going to take a while.
Yeah, it's like, am I gonna ever finish this?
Yeah, but I think in those days it was much easier to go, well, this is the game I bought, I'm going to play it. This is going to be my main game that I'm going to play. So yeah, it was quite easy to get caught up in a story and just keep wanting to play it, like reading a book, right?
Yeah.
But you play the book.
Exactly.
So you reveal more of the story. You find out more of the characters. And after Final Fantasy is Metal Gear Solid series, which is another chain, right? All of Hideo Kojima's ones, 1 to 4. I really enjoyed them all. They're all different, and they're all this weird, quirky sense of humor and this big, stealth mission. Is really interesting series, and good, really interesting gameplay mechanics as well, where it wasn't just about trying to shoot everybody as much as possible. You had to do all the stealth mechanic, and you could do the occasional sneak, a stealth kill. I don't know.
You had to think more strategically in a way.
Yeah, you have to hide the bodies and put them in lockers or
you remember that?
Around in a cardboard box so you're not seen. All these crazy things. So really enjoyed that. Again, because it kind of did this cross between Rambo and I don't know, some big mecha thing. You've got the Metal Gears, which are just these crazy big boss fights.
It's like the Japanese touch. You feel it very strongly there.
Yeah. It's sometimes, they think in ways you just, that Westerners are like, what? That's amazing, what's another? Another series. I've just got series here.
Yeah. I mean, I understand they are important, and they probably. And you told me you played like almost all of them, or sometimes all of the series. So it's hard to.
Yeah. And that was the thing. Once I got into a series, you just wait a few years, and because I had so much fun, I'd always go back and get the next one and see what how it evolved and what they would do. So another series is because I like fighting games as well. There's the King of Fighters series. I really like the character designs of those. I mean, I played Street Fighter. I loved Street Fighter Alpha because it got really cartoony style. It was much more like watching an anime, but you could
exactly
play the fights. I really like the character designs of King of Fighters. There was a character called K-Dash in the 99 version of the game, and I was just sold on him. It's just just love this character design, and I always try and do little homages to him in my comics as well. It's just really cool. Just it's one of those things where you take I take a lot of inspiration from games for my own artwork. As one of the places I get inspiration from, and then it's great to take that, change it around, and then put your own spin on it of the character that you want.
That's incredible. That's awesome.
To read about. So then another fighting game series was the Soul Calibur series.
Yes.
Yeah, I just enjoyed fighting with the weapons, how each character has their own signature weapon. It was just a little bit more than Street Fighter or Tekken at the time for me. I just liked the idea of the weapon fighting. Again, cool character designs. So then the Kingdom Hearts series. Yeah. Again, that's probably coming from Final Fantasy, a love of Final Fantasy, because they keep introducing the Final Fantasy characters, but they kind of take them from different time periods. So you see the characters that you liked, but maybe they're a kid this time, or maybe they're much older than they were in the game, and you're like, wow, and it's so. And then my mind is racing, thinking about all the backstory. How did they get to this point?
Yeah, what happened in between?
What happened in between? And they're trying to tell their own story with the main characters, and I'm like, but wait, what about my favorite character from this game? That again just fuels my imagination. And last one is the Phantasy Star Universe games. Again, it was just a Japanese sci-fi, the kind of fantasy high-tech thing. Yeah. An interesting world. The Phantasy Star games were on the Mega Drive as well. And then they kind of, I think this was on the PlayStation 2. They did the Phantasy Star Universe stuff. The second game, it's called Phantasy Star Universe Ambition of the Illuminous, I think. I might have that wrong, but it's been a while.
We'll check it after. Don't worry.
And you could make your own character in that one, and that's something I love doing, is making my own characters. I spend way too long making characters and tweaking them, trying to get the faces just right, or the body shape right, or and then so that was cool. So you could be your own character and be involved in the story that you've been playing, so it's a big list.
But I totally get it. I mean, 5 is a bit short. I have to start asking like 10.
I mean,
still...
yeah, exactly. I still couldn't cut it down very much.
It was interesting because you talk plenty of times about JRPGs, and when it comes to video games, I wanted to ask you what's your favorite style, if that's your favorite style, and at the same time, what's the genre that you can live without just fine when it comes to video games?
Obviously role-playing games. I'm trying to be a storyteller, so I like video game that you get to play a story rather than just reading or watching a story on TV, So I think that's a really nice way to reveal the story. Like I say, I like some fighting games. I like combat racing games. So there's, I really liked the Wipeout games as well.
Yes.
And it was that kind of thing. It was more a straight race, but you could, it was always nice to sabotage people and just go go past them, And so I guess my least favorite game I could do without I know I'm gonna probably offend lots of people, but it would be sports games. They don't do it for me. I don't watch sports, so a sports game doesn't do it a lot for me. But you play soccer games, right?
I play because I have like a background of football. I played football and I work with football players now, so I have like a history that is more connected with sports and stuff. But you are the second person that I interview out of 5 that tells me like, no, sports games, no thanks, I'm fine without that. So I think there are a lot of people that don't.
I don't know. I mean, I know several people that are mad about sports games as well. So it's just a personal taste. I didn't play much sport at school or anything like that. So I was too busy like hanging out in the art class drawing funny cartoons.
Genre. I mean.
I would probably, if somebody wanted me to play one, I'd probably have a go, but I'd be terrible, and I'd be the worst. I'd be confusing all the rules and everything. What?
That's cool. So, and you told me that you start playing video games at an early age and all that. But right now, what's the video game that you are playing more? And why would you recommend gamers to give it a shot?
Do you mean what game I'm playing right now?
Yeah, I mean, you probably are playing more than one, but if those that you play more often at the moment, one that you would like, okay, guys, give this a try because of this.
Probably as Nukaika as told you, we're playing Fortnite. And that's just a fun game. We play kind of every Friday night with a friend in the Netherlands, and we all so there's the 3 of us just playing the co-op side of things. I think she said we haven't tried the battle royale thing. I'm kind of curious about it. I just want to see what happens when you have 100 people and if you
like, what's going on here?
Yeah, we're if you're in a team of 100 and you're trying to get down to the first player, to top player, I'm sure I'll die in the first batch of guys down. It's like me, and then do I watch for 30 minutes? I don't know. I'm curious about it. So I think I'll try it at some point. So having some fun with Fortnite. Definitely the co-op side of things. It's great. We just sit down and we have a few beers and we have some pizza or chips or whatever and just have a nice Friday night,
Yeah, that's cool.
It's kind of our easy social way of not leaving the house.
Yeah. It seems like the sort of game. I didn't try it yet, but it seems like the sort of game that matches that perfectly.
Yeah. It's pretty fun. It's got a nice sense of humor. Some cool voice acting. There's a little robot called Ray, and her voice actor is awesome. Really entertaining. The other game I'm playing right now is Mass Effect Andromeda, which you're playing as well, right? A little bit.
I am loving it.
Yeah, I mean, me too. Nuria's played all the Mass Effect games, and she's crazy about the Mass Effect series. So I wanted to try it, and I thought this was probably a good spot because I can hopefully kind of start in a new area, a new part of the galaxy as such, and experience the stories as a newbie.
Yeah. I'm like you. I just started recently. I started playing Mass Effect with Andromeda.
Right. Yeah. I've got the original three games for the PS3.
Yeah.
Depending on how this goes, I'll probably go back and try those at some point.
I did the same.
I'm having a lot of fun with it. Again, I like the character customization. It's something that I do. I don't know how many other people do it, but when I make a character, I like making a character that's based on a character from another game or a movie or something. So it's like the continuing adventures of this character, if that makes any sense. That's a nice
perspective. That's cool.
I do that with too many games. It just gives me a nice angle, which is strange because Nuria's has told me sometimes, why you make all these comics and things, why don't you just make up a new character, And I'm like, I don't know.
He's living another journey in his history, so
yeah, it's that kind of thing. Because it's not exact, but I did the same thing in Phantasy Star Universe. I did the further adventures of the character from Dark Savior. In Skyrim, I'm doing the further adventures of a guy from a comic series called Slain. In Andromeda, I'm doing the further adventures of
Man, there's a lot of history now.
Yeah, but it's something that it gives me an angle. It gives me an angle in Andromeda. It's from a Japanese show called Kamen Rider, the Kamen Rider Decade specifically, and there was a cool character that I liked in that called The End. So this is the descendant of this character, in the far future, and so I'm not exactly that, but the character's called Rider. They call you Rider all the time. So I'm like, come on, it's a no-brainer for me. Of course I have to be a rider. So I do the Kamen Rider thing, and cool. And I paint all the armor up like his and customize the look of the guy so he looks like this Japanese guy. And
wow. You have to take a
I'll send you screenshots.
Yeah, I would like to see that. Cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So I think we can jump for the next question, which is,
sure.
And we talked about this prior to the interview. If you had a shaker and you toss a comic book in, mix it with a video game, what would be the signature cocktail coming out of that?
Okay, this was the hard question for me. So, because I had a whole lot of ideas, but there's one comic that I'm really loving at the moment, and it's called Weird World. Mm-hmm. It's one word, Weird World. It's by Jason Aaron, and the art's by Mike Del Mundo. Yeah, it's crazy. It's kind of it's set in the Marvel universe, kind of. There was an event called the Secret War in 2015. Dr. Doom kind of turns into this god and makes this area called Battle World, and Weird World is apparently part of this. So it's this crazy realm where there's all the weird and forgotten about ideas from Marvel characters, and old series from Marvel can make an appearance in this comic. So you're getting all these old sort of 80s characters kind of popping up, and
yeah, it's so cool.
Yeah, the art is just amazing. It's this kind of a sword and sorcery style, but just crazy, just you think Conan, but just next level Conan. It's just one crazy thing happening to the main character Archon after another, and then you get there were these cool, like I say, cool characters. I don't know how much to say. I don't want to give spoilers to people, but it's quite an old series now, so it's came out in 2015. But there was an old comic called Crystar, and it was about these crystal warriors, and characters from that make an appearance. I won't say anymore, but I love that kind of stuff. I love, like I was saying, making the new adventures of an old series or whatever. I love when comics do that. And Marvel's got such a history of things that they have all these characters that they could reintroduce at any time, and it was really nice to have that. So we're gonna smash Weird World with Uncharted, right? And have like an adventure like that, and go and explore Weird World and fight dragons and weird, just any weird creature, end up in swamps or cliff tops or just something.
Wow.
I would love that.
That's a great idea for a video game. There you go.
Yeah.
I hope someone can use it.
Yeah, exactly. It could pretty much any idea you could think of could end up in that game. So, it's probably the hardest part would be making some sort of coherent story from it, I think.
But that's a great idea. And moving on, the topics we are covering today, comic books and video games, already have a common past, and we've seen the Marvel and DC universe expand and somehow help these two nerdy mediums become mainstream and accessible to everyone, and that's amazing to see. In your opinion, what's the most positive aspect you take from that?
What I really like, especially from the Marvel and DC side of things, is that it's a chance for players to become the character that they've seen on screen or they've read in the comics, or the action figure that they play with. So they actually have to control that character and be that character, like being Spider-Man. Like Spider-Man's one of my favorite guys, right? And or Captain America, those two are my faves. So it's really cool that you get the chance to actually be that character for a change. I don't know. It's I think that's really positive. I mean, Star Wars does it as well. With Battlefront or Disney Infinity type thing. DC does it with the Injustice, or DC Universe Online, where you make your own hero, but then you see Superman flying around, or you encounter Batman on a rooftop, and you go, what? Then there's the Telltale games like Walking Dead or Fables, so there's kind of a wide, really wide variety of different styles of games too, which is really interesting. Some are more about telling a story, some are just a fighting game, beat 'em up. Some are these massive multiplayer Battlefront missions, so it's or then you have a single player experience like Spider-Man. You just be Spider-Man. So it's really interesting. I hope that one day, more indie titles, lesser known things comics can sort of start getting into the video game side of things as well. I know there's
it would be phenomenal.
At the moment, it's a bit, the cost of producing a video, of developing a video game is high. But I think more and more people are getting into the indie video game space. There's lots more people are just trying to make smaller games. I don't know if they could team up with an indie comic person, with an indie game creator.
A lot of doors are open now for that.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. I think it's a very interesting time for both comic books and video games.
It's a great time to live, I agree.
Yeah, Yeah.
That's
Right.
true. If I look at the past, and before we had like the selection of video games was, I mean, much
Yeah.
more limited, than even comic books were like, do you read comic books? That's a bit weird. Or
Yeah.
and most of adaptations to movie of comic books were mainly crap, let's be honest. Yeah, they were not very good back then.
Yeah.
One or
Yeah, but
another, but in general they were not. It's like they didn't take the original story seriously. It was like, okay, let's do this. We're a bunch
yeah.
of nerds, and it's fine.
Yeah. They
And
didn't
now
have.
you can't do that. And now
Yeah.
the perspective they put on working this properly and actually scaling it up and
Yeah.
elevating
Yeah.
everything and connecting everything,
Yeah.
as you were describing, now it's like phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean,
It is.
to
Yeah.
be able to enjoy all this now, it's great.
Yeah. We missed Thor Ragnarok at the theaters. We finally bought the Blu-ray and watched it, and yeah, it's crazy in the 80s, and I loved it. It was just my style.
I want to watch that mainly because it has a bit of my favorite Hulk story of all time, which is like the Planet Hulk.
Yes.
When
yes.
he goes to the arena, and in the comics he fights the Silver Surfer, not Thor.
Yeah.
But I mean, I like to see, okay, Hulk is like this. He has because he was made a slave at the time, so he has that device that's keeps him on a leash somehow.
Right.
And yeah, when I saw the trailer first time, I was like, whoa, they did
Yeah,
it. Yes,
yeah,
I want to see.
I think you'll love it. I think you'll love it. Both Nuri and I try not to watch trailers too much because we want to go to movies and experience it like
bam.
Yeah, have everything, not just wait for that. Oh, this is my best scene from the trailer.
That's a good idea too.
Yeah, it's hard to do.
It is nowadays. It's hard. Everyone it's just talking about it.
Post pictures everywhere. So so I didn't know what to expect, and I just had a ball. It has a lot of humor all the way through it. Maybe I don't know. It just appealed to me.
I have to watch it. Really, really have to watch it. And now it's funny because as we're talking more about comic books, now it's interesting to somehow now shift more for that and your journey. How and when did your journey as a comic book artist, writer, illustrator began?
Yeah.
Because you do a lot of things.
Yeah. Well, I always wanted to be in comics since I was a kid. I think when I was about 6 and reading comics, and I was like, this is what I want to do. So I was in New Zealand then, so I had to try and figure out, okay, how can I do this? Yeah, it was kind of difficult. There weren't any art schools that were comic specific like we were in the States at that time. I'm self-taught mostly. I went to art school for a little while, but I ended up learning everything just by making my own comics, and just evolving my storytelling. That's from the art side of things. It was. I'll give some tips near the end and explain things more.
Okay.
Probably my actual start of making a comic seriously was around 1993. I was unemployed at the time. And so I was applying for a grant and creating a small business. And my business was making this comic book series. And at the time, this is sort of around the time where Image Comics was just starting up.
Ah, yes.
A bunch of these top line artists from Marvel and DC had broken off and made another company.
So glad they did that.
It kind of shook up everything. There was because it'd been Marvel and DC for so long.
And they gave the artists the ownership of their work somehow.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they could create the series they wanted to, and then they had full rights over it.
Yeah.
And some of those are still going, I think, today. So I made a superhero series as well at that time. My series was called Southern Tribe. It was set in New Zealand, but it was in the future. So there was kind of a mix of sci-fi and superheroes. Again, I put a lot of different influences into that comic. Actually, a lot of the characters originated. We were doing a role-playing game at the time. It was a superhero role-playing game. So a lot of those characters in the comic are our characters from the games that I put a story to. So I put my own story to. I'm like, yeah. Well, I was drawing most of these guys anyway, all my friends' characters. So I was like, why don't I do something with it? So we made a new story. It had a whole lot of influences. There were influences from the look of characters from the Japanese anime called Saint Seiya for the armor, and because I thought if you're going to be a superhero, you need armor if you're going to go into a fight, and you know, it kind of made sense. A lot of the people in comics in that time were all still in the skin tight classic.
Yeah, the pants and cape, man.
Yeah,
that doesn't protect you.
Yeah, I was always like, so, and it's really funny now. Many years later, you see films like the Avengers, and most of them are kind of armored up. You know, Captain America's not in a skin tight things anymore. It's kind of armored up a little bit for protection. Iron Man is pretty obvious. Hulk doesn't need anything.
Nor Thor.
Yeah. So it's interesting that it's kind of come around that way as well, that thinking. But I definitely took the style from the Saint Seiya thing for a lot of characters, and did, you know, armored superheroes with their own powers. I mean, some didn't. Some still had the skin tight clothes, but they were the flyers mostly. Like they had one guy who would fly around and had lightning powers, and I still had a skin tight costume for him, but I think everybody else in the team had armor. So that was my first trying to do a comic seriously. I distributed it throughout New Zealand. I went around to various locations as well personally, and was selling it directly to the stores, and then had a distributor set up for the places I couldn't get to. But it was doing that comic that I realized how much I love writing comics as well. Which is
you created everything.
Yeah, I did everything with Southern Tribe as well, and I kind of have ever since. So, because I was reading screenwriting books as well to become a better storyteller, and they're really interesting. You know, unconsciously, like you can see a film and you know that you can know automatically that it's bad or it's good, right? So from all the stories that you've heard, you know there's what appeals to you and what makes a story good or bad. Everybody has this, right? So it was taking that, you know, but if you ask why did you think it was good, or why do you think it was bad? Maybe not everybody can tell you exactly why. They could say a scene was nice.
Yeah, you can structure it.
Yeah, so reading screenwriting books helped me to take what I knew unconsciously and make a conscious structure and conscious decisions.
Makes all the difference, for sure.
Yeah, to make your plot. It's really it's difficult, but it's really worth the effort. It can. For a moment there, when I was really getting into it, a friend of mine who recommended the book said it could destroy every movie that you watch from here on, because you start seeing, start seeing all the plot points and where it's going to change and what is leading to the end, and
now you know.
Yeah, and you can kind of see it, but lately it's been strange that I watch films and I see an ending and go, I would have done it differently. and
you have like all the juice there, you know, where you take that.
Yeah. And you know, I maybe think of going in a different direction sometimes, and which is interesting as well. So, but you know, I really enjoy writing comics. You essentially you can't take everything from a screenwriting book and apply it to comics, because it's a different medium, different ways of communicating. Because obviously you've got the motion of a movie, so somebody will pick up a cup and throw it at somebody, whereas in a comic you'll have maybe somebody throwing a cup in one panel and then somebody dodging out the way of it panel, and you have to imagine everything that's gone in between those two panels, and whereas in a movie you see that whole sequence, right? You know, and there's sound that you can't have, you know, as well in a comic. Some people still do sound effects. I leave out sound effects in my comics now, because I think that if you see something, you can pretty much imagine what sound it's going to make.
Yeah, you create it in your mind.
Yeah, rather than having a kabab, boom,
pow,
effect, you know? Which for me, I think you can imagine it, and you
it's
see
very
it.
vintage.
yeah, I think so. So yeah, the writing got really interesting for me, and then so it's Southern Tribe. My comics name, Southern Tribe, was the one where I started working on comics kind of in a full-time capacity, and using the money I got from this grant to actually produce some comics, and I learned so much doing that first series. It was a really fun time, a lot of work.
I can imagine, yeah. Because you said you had to go to distribution in the stores and all that, so it's like you learned all the package.
Yeah, you have to do everything, and it's a lot. I mean, just making the comic, it takes a long time if you're doing everything yourself, and then you've got all the business on top of that.
Yeah.
So
Sorry.
I learned a lot, and you know, take all those lessons and keep evolving them as I keep going. So yeah.
It's good. It's great. And that's a wrap, guys. Thank you so much for watching today's episode. To connect with Craig on social media, check his Twitter account, pass by his website mechazoic.com to see his phenomenal artwork, all the series he's working on and worked on previously. You'll find plenty of video games influences there. All the links are in the description of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed watching Craig's interview. If so, throw us a thumbs up, leave a comment, and let us know how much video games influenced your journey too. To see previous episodes of IViews, subscribe to our channel, smash that bell button so you can get notified whenever we upload new content, whether it's a live stream, an unboxing video of our Unboxables series, or a new episode of IViews. Again, thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you guys around soon, really soon, for another episode of IViews. Until then, take care, have a great day.